It's the year 2025 and there's tons of MMORPGs on the market. You're a first timer and you don't know what to pick. You've come to the right video. Welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from Deltiasgaming.com, and I've been playing MMORPGs since 1998, basically when Moses parted the Red Sea, Ultima Online. And I'm going to go through what I think you should consider if you're a first time looking to pick something up in the year 2025. Whether you're a beginner, your different playstyles, you're hardcore, you're going to want to watch this video and not skip ahead to get the nitty gritty on what you should pick and why in this year. Let's get started. Okay, so first question up is what makes a great MMORPG, or why do people even play MMORPGs? So the game, like RPGs, offers two things, but one unique: progression and socialization. The socialization is the key. So what makes a great MMORPG is the community. It's the people playing and interactions in the game. And if you like RPGs, you want more of that social interaction, picking something in a community based on what they like, what they do, is going to be critical to having fun and not wasting your time. Great MMOs stick around. They have this strong, cohesive player base that's dedicated to the game, but more importantly, to each other. Look, I know that's sappy, but it's the truth, right? I've stuck with MMORPGs that I've hated basically because my homies were there. And we would get online, get on Discord, make fun of each other, go do PvP, PvE, and that's what keeps you around. It's kind of like a job. When your friend leaves that you absolutely love at that job, it really is a gut punch. Same thing with MMOs. If your homies leave, it's really hard to stick around. Before we get to the actual MMORPGs on this list, I really want you to consider some important factors, because look, MMORPGs take a gazillion hours, and especially if you're going to jump in one that's been around for 10 years to catch up. So you really have to make some critical decisions. You don't waste your time. The number one thing you want to consider is catch-up mechanics. So MMORPGs are super complex. They last for a gazillion years, right? So jumping into one at level 1, do not expect to catch up to max level and max power right away. So you have to honestly assess, are you one of those sweat lords like me that want to be really powerful and dominate in PvE and PvP? Well, then don't pick a game that's going to take you hundreds, if not thousands of hours to do so. Some players aren't concerned about this, but if you're one of those, this is going to be a limiting factor. Also, time commitment and progression. So how much time do you have? If you have a lot of free time, hey, that's no judgment. Maybe you can invest in more of a hardcore MMORPG. But if you don't, you're going to want to pick one that aligns with you being a casual player, so you can go at your own pace, picking it up for an hour or two, putting it down. But don't pick that thing that's meant for hardcore players if you're going to have to constantly be online and no life it. Casual and hardcore players, you need to decide what do you like and get out of games, specifically RPGs most likely. If you're one of those players that likes farting around, exploring, and doing this and that, you're going to want to pick a casual game. If you're like me, I want to get the best sword. I want to beat the hardest boss. I want to get the achievements so I can brag to my friends that don't give a crap about my online gaming achievements. You're going to pick that specific MMORPG. Other factors to consider: PvE versus PvP. So player versus environment, player versus other players. Almost every MMO has PvE and PvP, but they almost all lean towards one or the other. So you need to pick. You want to kill other sweaty players in PvP, or you want the idiots to be on their own little server isolated? That's going to be really important. Types of progression. A lot of MMOs have added a lot of alternate form of progression. I'm talking about collectibles, cosmetics, housing, crafting. So find a game that fits your type of progression. It's not just about level and gear. Cost and monetization. Consider what's going to cost. So there's a lot of monetization traps within MMORPGs. So people like myself, millennials who are impulsive, you're going to struggle with a free-to-play game that creates a problem and sells you a solution. So if you struggle with instant gratification, and I'm one of those people raising my hand in my jammies in the basement, avoid these games or your wallet will be in trouble. Also, active player base. So what's the game trending towards? Look, MMORPGs are constantly in flux because of the yearly content cycle, but you want to make sure to pick a game where the valleys, meaning the lowest point in the year, aren't a complete ghost town. So you can look at Steam charts, Steam DB for this, or just talk to some various people, because it doesn't always tell the full story on Steam charts, because that's just number one, the Steam launcher, and number two, it's not going to factor in console. So don't use that as your limiting factor. Again, it comes down to your playstyle. What do you like to do in game? Like, I've played Hogwarts Legacy for a couple hundred hours, and I ask myself, What do I like about it? Well, what I like about it is that I can start off and then I start getting progression right away. I feel more powerful. I get better spells. I go do the story. I unlock little more talents and stuff. And so it gives me that dopamine drip of progression that I like in terms of combat. Plus I get a little bit of the story. So when I factor in MMORPGs that I want, one, I don't want to no life the game and basically get a divorce because I never pay attention to my wife or son. Number two, I want to get progression. I want to kill stuff. I want to blow stuff up. I want to be powerful. Number three, I want a little bit of story. It needs to have a little bit of story, decent graphics, and that's what I look for in a game. So when I go select an MMO I want to play, these are going to be really important factors. So best MMORPGs for beginners in 2025. Here's my top 5 list. We're going to start with the Elder Scrolls Online. And why? It's cheap. It's easy to explore. There's tons of systems in the game and it's been around for 11 years. So it has a massive amount of voice acting, quest systems, and open world. It's just staggering. And it blends the best of traditional open world RPGs with the social MMORPG feel. I am biased though. This is one of my favorite games of all time and I've been sponsored by Bethesda, so take that as what it is. Some of the pros. So it's very solo friendly. You can play almost the entire game solo, including the story, quests, and world events. It has flexible progression, so you will have to pick classes, but you can swap weapons and skills pretty easily. Massive open world. When I say massive, it is massive. If you're an Elder Scrolls fan, you're gonna love this game just for the story. It has a lot of regular expansions and updates, so there's always something being added to the game. It has been the same sort of progression treadmill for quite a while, so long-term players aren't really feeling this currently, so looking at switching the model up. And then the thing that I love the most is really the fast-paced action combat. People despise this on Elder Scrolls Online or love it. So I'm in the love it camp. Just keep in mind, this is not gonna be a traditional tab target combat system, so you might be turned off by it. Now, the downsides is performance is an issue. PvP in large events can lag even on good hardware, so that's really in the Cyrodiil PvP, but now it's leaking into PvE and raids and so on, which are called trials. It does have a lot of monetization, so it's not pay to win. You have to buy DLCs and expansions and have an optional subscription, and you have to buy the game. Sometimes it's on sale for $6, $7 or $10 in the US, but then you can get a subscription. You can buy little houses that are super expensive in the game. You got loot crates, so there is tons and tons of monetization traps, but it is not pay to win. You can't just buy a sword and go, I'm gonna kill everybody with it. There's also no crossplay, so you won't be able to group up with Xbox, PSN, or PC. Everyone's isolated on their own server, and the player base is what it is. It's aging MMORPG, and it has a really solid player base, but it's not massive. It's not 24/7, 365, tons of stuff going on. Next up is Guild Wars 2. This is very similar to Elder Scrolls Online. So it has somewhat of a similar action-based combat system. It has a lot of dynamic events, and it's one of the best MMOs on the market RPG. It leans more towards PvP in my opinion, so keep that in mind. So what are the pros of Guild Wars 2? There's no monthly subscription. So the base game is free and expansions are buy to play. I can't stress this enough about Guild Wars 2. If you don't have any money, but you have a lot of time and you want to check out an MMORPG, this will be the one I'd recommend because there's no cost to start. And they don't like just monetize, trap you like other MMORPGs. So it's really, really cost effective. And if you want to buy the expansions and do more stuff, you can, but you can jump in, experience tons and tons of content without feeling trapped to buy something. It's going to reward you with XP for just doing other things besides grinding mobs, which is helpful. It has a lot of dynamic events and flexible level scaling. So some of the downsides is the end game can kind of feel empty and not so fleshed out PvE wise as other MMOs on this list. So if you're a hardcore raider and you want to do trials and all of this, you might find it lacking at the end game. And the PvE gear progression is also sparse too. So that's also kind of a pro, is it's easy to catch up in Guild Wars 2. But if you're at the bleeding edge of the game, there's really not a whole lot of gear treadmill to keep grinding. And sometimes people like me that are grinders, we just move on because there's not much to do. Next up is number 3, Star Wars Old Republic. This is a big narrative story driven, made from BioWare originally. And what this sets it apart is you have these class stories where you can make choices. That's what BioWare is known for, and they put it in an MMORPG. It is the ultimate for solo and casual players, I'm telling you. So this is free to play, but we'll get more into that. Great storytelling, tons of different things that you can experience, huge amounts of zones, and it's very solo friendly. So they make it where like your companion or whatever you bring along can just carry you in combat. So if you're absolutely dreadful at the game's combat, which is tab target, kind of clunky World of Warcraft, this thing will carry you. So if you wanted to just see the story and you love Star Wars, this is your game 100%. But cons. Combat is clunky and it's just not as smooth as butter and action oriented. And the free-to-play model is restrictive to say the least. So they basically give you all sorts of problems and sell you the solution. It has really outdated graphics, so I don't really mind the graphics. I like the lightsabers and the colors, but it is quite dated. It doesn't have like a true open world feel. It's more linear with instance-based content versus Elder Scrolls Online like really feels open world. One odd thing, it might be like too solo friendly. So it gives you almost no incentive to group up besides doing the raids to get like the best gear. So it's kind of like, well, why is this an MMORPG when it could be just an RPG? Would recommend this for people that love Star Wars, that maybe not be very good at combat in games and just want to experience story. Next up, you have basically the two juggernauts in the industry. So Final Fantasy and World of Warcraft. Now, Final Fantasy basically and World of Warcraft are kind of the same two things in a nutshell. They have an enormous amount of PvE. I would put Final Fantasy in the category of having some of the best PvE and some of the best story, where World of Warcraft has almost every system and every MMORPG, but it has absolutely dreadful graphics. So if we stick with Final Fantasy here, has great story, has a flexible cast system, so you only need one character, you don't have to grind a bunch of alts. It has a good community and it's very vibrant PvE content, lots of players interacting over all the platforms. But the cons, it is a dreadfully slow start. You're gonna have to wind through all the dinky, stupid little story quests to level your character up. It's gonna have almost non-existent PvP and it's gonna force you to do the story, and there's a subscription required. So this is not going to be a free-to-play game, but it's a JRPG and an MMO. So if you're like me, love old school Final Fantasy games and love the art style and kind of the storytelling, this is gonna be really fun, especially if you're a PvEer. If you're a PvPer or you just can't stand grinding through these stories, stay away. Next is World of Warcraft. Kind of talked about this. Most people, you already know about this, right? It's smooth, it's polished, it's a gazillion years old, it has the biggest community. What's the downside? It has just an endless gear grind. It is incredibly dated graphics. I'm sorry, it looks terrible. I do not know how people play it all the time. So if you're a graphics snob, this one is like the worst. And the story might not be as good, like it's a fully voice acted ESO and SWTOR, but it's okay and it's there. So you already know what World of Warcraft is. It'll be a long, windy road to catch up in World of Warcraft, but the nice thing is, you know it's gonna be around, right? It's the biggest, most successful, probably the most money-making MMORPG, meaning they're gonna keep supporting it, so your time is not gonna go wasted. Next up, we're gonna go best MMORPGs for hardcore players. So if you're a sweat lord and want to destroy people online and brag to your friends at the bar how great you are, not that I've ever done that, this would be the games for you. Number one is Black Desert Online. This, if you love to grind, is going to be for you. It has some of the best graphics in MMOs, best combat, combo-oriented action, and a good player base. But it is dedicated to the hardcore open world PvP crowd that grinds constantly and no life's the game. So pros, best action combat MMO, possibly you could argue, has really cool deep character progression, massive open world, looks beautiful, and it's complex, so a lot of different skills, trading, crafting, resource management, and a ton of endgame activities. But there's no level cap. So low level cap means people are going to be online 18 hours a day pushing the limits of their builds, and then you're going to encounter them in the open world. If you're a sweat lord, you love that. If you don't, you're going to hate this game. Some of the cons of BDO, it's going to have the usual traps. It's going to have brutal RNG, heavy grind, some pay to win elements, and PvP is very unforgiving. Next up is EVE Online. This is a sandbox MMO set in space, so it's very different, and it's all about player-driven warfare, politics, economy, and everything. It's all about real players determine the action. So sandboxes, you make your own castles, right? The developers don't do it for you, and this is 100% your game, but it is incredibly complex. It has the most complex economy. Players control everything. And when I say high stakes PvP, it's like high stakes, like you lose real assets in life. And that's going to make the fights intense, probably to like you've never experienced before. And there's endless paths to power, and it's going to encourage people that have high tech, that want to do multi-boxing and large scale coordination. It's going to give you that. But man, there's some big downside. It is one of the hardest MMORPGs to get into. It is bizarrely complex and really different. You got permanent loss on death. So you can lose years of your life in one of these battles. Yeah. Keep that in mind. And corporate politics can be ruthless, so you can get betrayed by scumbags, and there's all sorts of different YouTube documentaries and shows saying how someone got scammed out of $100,000 in real life. It's wild. Ain't no one got time for that. People got a job? Oh wait, I'm the guy on YouTube sitting in my basement in jammies. Never mind. Next up is Albion Online. This is also a hardcore full loot PvP sandbox. So player-driven economy, player-driven combat, guild, warfare, classless system. You get the idea. When I say full loot PvP means you die, all your crap on you, you can loot it. So people who are sweat lords that are very good at combat are going to love this. You got the classless system, and it's going to have like the guild wars and territory control. So it's all about PvP and grouping up with people, zerging around, nuking people, and taking their stuff. But as you can imagine, it's going to be brutal for solo players. It's going to be grindy, and you're going to have to deal with idiot gankers that just try to take you out in high-level zones, roaming around by themselves. Yeah, we know who you are. And it's going to be guild centered, so guild dominance. If you're not in the top guild, you're going to be at a disadvantage. And the next two games are very similar to this. New World Eternum number 4. So this is going to be large-scale, action-oriented combat. The world's revolving, and it does have a lot of PvE in it as well, but it's really designed for PvP experience. So it's gorgeous graphics. The combat is really fun. You're gonna dodge, roll, aiming, blocking, so it's a lot more active than other MMOs. And territories matter, so your guilds or companies can control cities and collect taxes. There's no classes, so you can just change out weapons, which is nice. And it's visually just stunning, beautiful. Tons of PvP to do, but the downside, it's very gear based. So PvP, if you're not a sweat lord and don't have the best gear, you're gonna suck. PvE is lacking in comparison to the other MMOs. And then server issues. So if the population leaves the server, it's going to be a huge miss, because all the content and endgame controlling the individual zones is based on your guild or company. So if your guild or company leaves, you're just basically done, or you're gonna have to change, start all over, or get a server change. So it's just this huge ebb and flow of super fun, super not. Next up is number 5, Throne and Liberty. Look, I'm gonna cut to the chase with Throne and Liberty. It's similar to any game that has these guild control elements. So when it says guild control or player driven, it's very great if you're in a coordinated guild that plays the game constantly and are highly skilled. You'll dominate the server, crush everyone, laughing, drinking Mountain Dew, everyone's having a good time. If you're not in one of those guilds, you're going to be on the opposite end, and you're going to take a beating. You're going to log out, quit, move servers or whatever, and then pretty soon that server is a wasteland. And then the sweat lords have to go to a next server and destroy it, rinse and repeat. And that's how the game gets destroyed. New World, Throne and Liberty, Lost Ark, a bunch of these different games can be incredibly fun, but it is super dependent on your guild. So Throne and Liberty is great if you find one of those guilds that you jive with. I would stick with it. Otherwise, it's going to be the same as others on this list. Okay, so here's my recommendations for different type of players in the year 2025. So for story lovers, if you just love story, I'm biased. I love Star Wars, so Star Wars: Old Republic is my favorite. Elder Scrolls Online, since I love Bethesda storytelling, is number 2, and then Final Fantasy. If you like JRPGs like Final Fantasy VII, those old school games, amazing stories. If you're a PvP sweat lord, I would pick Albion Online as number 1. The full loot makes combat really, really fun. And number 2, I would pick Black Desert Online. The reason I have it on 2 is it's just super hardcore to catch up. And then number 3, I would put Guild Wars 2. You can jump in, you don't have to grind a bunch of gear, you can be really good at PvP without spending a gazillion hours grinding the game and have a good time. Best for PvE fans, there's nothing that's going to beat World of Warcraft. Whether you're serious, in the middle, or hardcore, there is a bazillion things for you to do. Next would be Final Fantasy. These two are 1 and 2 in terms of raids and serious coordinated PvE. And then lastly, Elder Scrolls Online has a lot of really cool stuff, including trials, so I would give that a shot. Best for casual, Star Wars: Old Republic. It is by far the best. or someone that just wants to play, not really good at combat, wants their companions to carry them and do everything solo. And then probably 2 or 3, you could pick them in whatever order, would be ESO or Guild Wars. And then the best for hardcore players would be EVE Online. This is just mind-bogglingly crazy hardcore with like real life stakes, like insano. And then BDO would be number 2 if you want the PvP and you just want to constantly grind. So that's my choices. I still think Elder Scrolls Online for me is like the best overall MMORPG. And yes, I'm biased, flame me in the comments, but the reason I like it is the combat's fun. I can jump in, all my progression carries over. But the downside is I've almost got everything in the game. So unless I do all the trials and stuff, I can't really progress anymore. And that's what really limits me now as I'm 41. I'm an old man. Is I don't have time to play in the evening for 4 or 5 hours and do raids and get all the sweaty gear, right? I'm usually hanging out with my family in the evening, walking my dogs, whatever. I've progressed in kind of what I look for in an MMORPG. So if you got something out of this, hit a thumbs up, leave me a comment. Hopefully this saved you a bunch of time picking the wrong one. Thanks for watching.